Hello, beautiful people. We are about to get started with AUD 64 versus the Shambler. It's some TVT action, and our first three matches are going to be on Alpha XY. We've seen this a little bit so far, because when Shambler hosts the lobbies, he often hosts his own maps. And after that, it looks like we go to Radium and a whole bunch of Catalysts. So, see you guys then. But first, Alpha XY, we got the Shambler in the top right as our red Terran, and good friend, aka AUD 64, in the bottom left as our pumpkin Terran. I will say, on Terran specifically, it is pretty difficult to distinguish between electric orange, regular orange, vivid orange, pumpkin. So I draw upon an understanding that AUD 64 likes the pumpkin color. The legendary matchup of Cannoli versus AUD 64, where they both were preferring pumpkin and only AUD ever got it, that was phenomenal. Oh, I've just noticed that there's a massive blatant Imba on this map. And it's for this spawn. There's actually 4 mineral fields stacked here. You can tell because of the shadow. Shambler is here rigging the position. So if Shambler doesn't win this match, then we know something egregious has gone on. Because how could you lose when having a 10 mineral field spawn? How could you do that? More blatant Imba and broken stuff from his maps. We've got the Biddy Bee tile. Well, tell me about the Shambler mineral field. You guys may remember way back when Titan Forge, another map that Shambler put forth, was found out in the qualifier of one of the tournaments. It was Acropolis #1. That the top spawn did not have one mineral field that the bottom spawn did. So I'm just throwing that out there. I'm just throwing that out there, that this man regularly seems to have mineral-oriented troubles. And at least this one wasn't in a competitive tournament, right? We can all just kind of laugh about it. Unfortunately, it does mean that it's been active for this whole time, probably ever since we've seen this. I imagine that there was plenty of opportunities where Shambler could have and probably should have fixed that and noticed that, but that's all right. I pointed it out live on YouTube to 10,000 viewers, so I'm sure it will figure it out. Now, we do have Bio opening versus a 2-Folk build. This is actually a Ministry or a Stockade into Expand opener here. And I actually think using the Mason to block a little bit for the Vulture is actually a pretty good move here. It is going to allow the Vulture, I think, to get into the base. But we'll see whether AUD wants to brave the storm here, brave the front. Well, it looks like he's pretty eager to jump forward. He's actually going to attack forward. Yeah, so when he attacks the unit and then he falls back, we kind of know, all right, never mind. It's not what he's into. But he is going to Folk Vault. He might just steamroll the Shambler over, which would be pretty amusing, all things considered. As far as I'm concerned, if you're going to get steamrolled, it would be in this kind of matchup where you've gone for this early expo. And it's before you get to a saturation level where the extra minerals are really that valuable. I guess technically he is already benefiting from it, right? But still, it's... Oh, no, I guess not really. You would have to be above 14 workers on minerals to benefit from it for real. Besides maybe some minor things like the layout is a little bit different or whatever, right? So, yeah, anyway. The Vultures are swarming the path outside of the base. AUD just laying his mines all over the place. He's got some Goliaths coming up. He might wait for the Goliaths to storm the ramp here. It would be a valid strategy because Goliaths take so long to kill. And then following it up with Vultures, this is kind of like in Starcraft 1, when you would do a tank push in a certain matchup and then follow it up with Vultures because Vultures move so fast. They reinforce, they probably hit the target at the same time as the siege tanks get there in StarCraft 1. So if you're going for some kind of tank push, that would make sense. So AUD is probably going to end up reinforcing his Vulture count, going to 8, and then, on top of all of that, have the opportunity to make the Goliaths hit. Now, since then, Shambler has used his Scouting Mason to make a stockade and then lift this position. He's also revealing that the Goliaths are out, right? So there are some more Vultures here. We'll see. Another round goes live. This might end up coinciding with a few opportunities here for Shambler to get some counter-eco damage with his lift. That being said, his one Maverick that was out there is no longer there. This is absolutely going to run him over. He invested resources into a greedy position here, and the Vultures are coming out. They can be turned back around pretty easily as the two Hurakans try to make something happen, but remember, Masons are super tanky by comparison. The Masons could probably fight this off anyway. Where are those Vultures at? You could transfer over to the natural that's already been established, but I think there's way too much eco damage already being made and done here, with 4 Vultures still alive, one of them very close to death, but not quite. Maverick getting spawn camped there. And the Vultures never actually returned home. They went all the way across the map to reinforce. So at this point, yeah. Oh, hey, one of the Goliaths goes down. That's worth something. But I think we can pretty safely say at this point that, yeah, the next round of Vultures is going to go ahead and clean house as far as the Hurricanes go. Another one has been waypointed in. Those two are going to catch that. And looks like the Masons will return to work. Now, this Goliath is kind of the hopes and dreams of Aoud on the offensive front. I mean, he's doing so much eco damage, and he has a much more powerful follow-up, but he does very much lack resources right now. That being said, yeah, he takes the foot off the gas a little bit regarding the Goliath. The Antseal is out. He's doing his best as far as doing damage is concerned, but I think at this point, yeah, he's going to go ahead and be bopped. And of course, the Vulture is not going to be able to breach the Antseal shield. A couple more come in. Down to 7 workers for Shambler. He's absolutely coping that he can still win this, especially with 6 more Vultures raiding in. Yeah, the Mavericks are not going to be able to do anything here. And so, absolutely, Shambler is going to have to Jeej. How many bases? He didn't even get his natural up. I mean, he says 2, but that's a lie. And the Jeej comes out. Shambler cannot cope. Shambler cannot seethe. Shambler had 2 extra minerals. I don't want to hear it. Let's go to game 2. Well, you never know what's going to happen in one of these kinds of games, but it looks like Aoud will be our Pumpkin Terran in the top right. And it is indeed going to be in a situation where extra minerals are on his side. And he won the last game, so I can only imagine it's going to go a similar way this time around. But Shambler will be our white Terran in the bottom left, and he is once again going to make a stockade. I will point out that last game was pretty ballsy from him. He had no anchor, no real good defense when it came to holding versus the mech push, which he knew was coming because he saw the Vulture out, right? And when I'm thinking about it from that perspective, he went stockade into... After that, he went into a ministry, which makes sense. And then he went into a proxy stockade. So that last game was Shambler spending a lot of his resources on not really reinforcing the front. So of course he was going to get run over. Like, there's no defender's advantage implicit in that. And I guess Aoud is kind of saying, yeah, you're cheesing with the stockade float. I think that is a legit strategy in Cosmonarchy, partially because of the fact that the stockade moves faster. But yeah, overall, I would say Shambler's military is naturally going to be worse if he's going to try to take that fast expo after opening stockade, which does get mismatched by bio in the early stages. And then on top of it, going for the stockade lift into his enemy's base, that is a pretty steep investment in stuff that isn't related to his defense at home. The ministry doesn't help his defense at home, besides maybe implicitly giving him a little bit more territory. And then on top of that, he's not really going to have a better defense when it comes to stockade into Fulcrum as the matchup goes. So it's going to be 2 Fulk Vault as the opener once again for our good friend Aoud64. He's going to go ahead and clean house with this Mason. You get a few licks in there. I mean, every little bit might help in the future as far as the hold goes, but it's a double stockade, and it is a Maverick spam, so it's very unlikely that Aoud will be able to get up to his usual shenanigans later on. Remember, though, he is benefiting from the Imba spot, so as time goes on, once he hits 15 plus workers, he's actually going to have a superior one-base mineral economy. We'll see which one of our players elects to expand first and elects to do any one thing first. But yeah, I wouldn't expect this move to really give him too much value here. He might try to slip. Then I still think you could probably like force a stim and then try to dive in or something like that if you really wanted to. But when you see this many Mavericks, you're kind of sure it's double stockade, right? And then you're kind of sure that you shouldn't slip the net. And you're just going to force a stim and get gunned down. So yeah, that's a little bit less valuable. If we go back to the last game where there were only like 4 Mavericks at that timing, you can absolutely just waypoint the Vulture in, right? So Shambler going to go ahead and get his expansion up sooner. He is also teching into Cyprians at this point. The stim comes out. Obviously, that's where the Vulture mines are going to do their best work as he lays some more and worries about a potential follow-up. There is none coming from the Shambler. He balls up instead. There's way more Vultures than there would be otherwise, and we are going to get into that Goliath count. So I would love to see Aoud kind of seize the moment here and try to storm the gates again. I still think that will grossly benefit him in the matchup. There's no Hurricanes here to rend the armor and stop the Vultures from raining in and just smashing stuff. The Cyprians will do pretty well versus the Vultures if there's another round of them coming. Doesn't seem like there is, and they're very easy to snipe for, it's 4 Vultures will one-shot a Cyprian, so I guess you could say that another way. I always think it's goofy to say that, but that is generally how you think. Because you would say Vulture 4 shots to Cyprian, so anyway. The Ant Seal's coming. You know, the star pad is about halfway complete. That'll be an Ant Seal for Shambler. We kind of know his comp already. And his Ministry's about to finish. But, again, no anchor, and that does mean that his forces are a little bit more on the brittle side. We are going to get up to that 8 Vulture, 2 Goliath timing attack that AU did in the last game. We'll see if Shambler can hold it this time around a little bit differently. The Goliath's face tanking, the Cyprian projectiles are pretty good. They are going to try to focus down. That's one Goliath down, then the other one. There goes the Cyprians, finally falling, but yeah, the stimmed Maverick's going to be much too powerful there for the mech play to overcome, and no mines were landed in the face or anything like that. It did feel like maybe the fact that there were no like Cyclops with this army or something might have helped out. Might have hurt the situation there. He's using the Cyprian to... Both Cyprians actually stayed alive that fight, which is miraculous. He's using them to pretty good effect, and he's also going to be dropping Cyprians into the enemy base. It looks like he's making 3 of them, and, you know, you can fit 4 of them in a Trojan, so liable to see that happen at some point. Ministry coming up later for Aud as he starts to tech into Cyclops, you know, pivoting into there. He's got a lot of money behind all of this. I'm not used to seeing Aud bank so much. I don't know if he's trying to go for a fast tier 2 or something. But it looks like the Mavericks will be dispatched with the intention of clearing mines, playing Minesweeper, and also just confirming whether or not there's a third base. This kind of narrows the aperture for where the Trojan wants to go, so it makes the target selection a little bit easier. Cyprian drops are pretty deadly for workers, but again, when you're harassing workers as against a Terran player, that is almost always going to be a little bit harder. They do have that extra bonus HP compared to other racial workers. Which actually reminds me, what do you guys think the Ascosi worker should have as like a unique characteristic? We know that they team build pretty nicely, but you know, they're going to be produced similar to Terran and Protoss workers. It's not like they come out of larva or anything. There's the very fast tier 2 we were just talking about, by the way, and the Cyprians are coming. We'll see if they can harass them as well as they can harass the Ascosi Pilgrim, which is, of course, the name of the Ascosi worker, so stay tuned for that. And yeah, there's only the one Cyclops, which you don't really want as the target here. He's actually unloading it, specifically trying to clear stuff out. He kills 1 Mason for all 4 of those, and of course a Vulture. He does get some good, you know, collateral damage on a few of those units, I suppose, but definitely not what he was looking for there. So he will tuck tail and fall back. He still has a 6 worker advantage, so Shambler shouldn't be feeling too bad. And we don't have a Phalanx here, so I think spotting the Atlas in construction is definitely a go signal for Shambler. He will be moving across. There are no mines to really spot him at this point. Really, there's only Aud's 6th sense, his star sense, that should tingle to tell him whether or not he is going to need to defend against an attack. Instead, he's going to put anti-drop in the main. It is a pretty open main. He already has a Watchdog established in the natural, so... Oh, man, a Shambler tile over there. Shambler tile and Shambler minerals. Now, we're definitely at that point where... Oh, actually, no, that's not true. I was going to say, we're at that point where he's benefiting from the extra minerals, but no, he's actually undersaturated in his main base. So, tier 2 is now done. We'll see what he wants to do with that. He looks like he's going to go ahead and try to lay some mines. The problem here is that the Ant Seal is going to detect them all. And does he really have enough units to actually stop this? I don't think the answer is yes. He has no Phalanxes, no Palladiums. It's just pure Vulture to try to hold on with a couple of mines that are obviously going to be spotted and bopped from a distance. Now, that being said, the cliff advantage is helping him out a little bit. The one Cyclops is sounding off. We're getting a Sentinel constructed. But these mantles are on the front line. That is not really where they need to be. And yeah, that is going to be a Jeej. There is almost no way that Aud was going to be able to pull out from that one, even if he did stay a little bit longer. I mean, his tier 2 was coming in the wrong spot, right? So that extra bit of money that it doesn't even look like he actually added in. I guess the top spot is cursed. You know, you put the extra minerals in there and then you just bop him immediately. Karmic justice for having the bonus spot. Anyway, we got one more game on this map, so let's take a look at it. I deliberately have not looked. I mean, I can tell based on the colors, but I deliberately have not looked to see who got the cursed spot this time, because that will dictate who we root against for the rest of the series. The Shambler is not in the cursed spot, so let's all root for the Shambler, the PSS, the Pro Shambler Society, and Pro is not with a 0. I am not Shambler. He is in the bottom left as the White Terran. And up here in the top right, we have Aud 64 as the Pumpkin Terran. So, a run back of the last game as far as the spawns are concerned, and maybe Shambler will fix that map issue at some point. I mean, you know what? I will, as I'm recording this, I will let Shambler know. I'll go into CM Maps, I will ping Shambler, and I will say, top right spawn has 2 bonus mineral fields on Alpha XY. And we will see if he responds in the middle of the recording. This is Frontline Journalism brought to you by Pro No-Go. That's right. A journalist, more like a pro-nalist? Eh? No, that doesn't really work. It almost... Well, I am pro-natalist, so that would make sense. Have babies. Make more babies. That's what we need. We need the babies. We need the babies. I just now noticed as well that these little spots here that are supposed to be the border of the town center are not placed in such a way that they actually align with the bounds of the ministry, and that offends me on a deep personal level. But Ayu doesn't seem too bothered. He's going to go for the 2 Folk Vault once again. Seems like he likes that opener, and he just wants to see how to navigate out of it in different situations. So Shambler obviously has preemptively started his second Stockade. He wants to play a little bit more defensively. He likes how that last game went, not just because of the win, but also because of the fact that he had that freedom to get the expansion faster, which is something you get when you go for Stockade openers versus Fulcrum openers. And I do appreciate that Shambler is championing Bio as a Terran player. I feel like people underwrite the value of Bio, even in TVT. Looks like Shambler will be escaping with his worker after that, and the Vulture is trying to find him. But the Mavericks are actually moving across the map. This is a really smart move, savvy move from Shambler, as he maybe predicted that the Vulture would be moving out in the wrong spot, so that means it wasn't moving across the map, and now his Mavericks are going to go ahead and retreat. I think that that's kind of an if this then that situation where, since they were scouted, he's not going to move them across the map, but he is forcing a defensive posture out of Mr. Ayud, our good friend. So, I don't know. He's gone for the Cyclops early. I like that adaptation, but that is a little bit more gas intensive, which means you're mining less minerals to afford it. So, probably a little slower Ministry as a result. That's kind of the natural thing you would think of at this point. And there it is, the Ministry coming up for the Shambler a bit faster there. Now we are going to see those Vultures dispatch into the middle of the map. We obviously have the Mason cheeky mining as an extra mineral field. You know, he just needs one more. And then they're even. That's so goofy. So the star pad coming. Shambler will, of course, be going for the Anseal for protection. Works very well versus mech strats. And now the Cyclops are actually going to be revealed. It's forcing a stim out. The splash damage is pretty big. He wants to see if he can catch this Cyclops. One of them goes down. And another stim. He's going for it. That was perfectly timed, actually, as well. Shambler definitely taking notes. And so, trying to commit with the Vultures is a good move. He's going to force out yet another stim. And he's going to dodge that shot, but still, at this point, he's taken 15 stim damage on all of his Mavericks. That is going to make the Vultures a little bit more effective. Oh, look at that. The stim and turnaround is definitely pretty good, but remember, the Vultures are a little bit beefier than the Mavericks, of course, so that is going to help out. We got more reinforcements kind of idling there, and it looks like our good friend is going to be dropping another Ministry, so that will be Ayud64 taking his natural. Now, that is as Shamblers is about to finish with a Trojan coming instead of an Anseal, so the first unit out of the star pad is going to be a drop central. Vulture's now trying to pick apart the stimmed Mavericks, who are now running away as opposed to turning. It makes sense. It makes sense. There's still just 2 Cyclops. Nothing too crazy right now. Oh, he could have just shot that guy, but there you go. Sometimes, you bluff by accident. The classic lard pathing is going to give you an area, an angle of attack that you weren't expecting, something like that. The Vulture's going to go ahead and engage, try to buy a little bit of time for the Cyclops to make their magic happen. This is as the Trojan finishes, and that fully wipes out the military. We have no more military units being made right now for Shambler. He's going to go ahead and lift. Now, that being said, there's not that many when it comes to actual combat units here. We do have more Vultures streaming on in, but this is not an unrecoverable position. Remember, Ayud's Ministry is not even done right now. Vultures are going to go ahead and get a surprise pick from a misrallied Mason. They're actually dead even on workers, and the Cyclopses are going to try to do the friendly fire trick onto that Ministry. That's very, very amusing. I appreciate it. +1 respect for Shambler for that move. I mean, it's not really going to do too much, but maybe he can paintbrush damage in to clear the mines or something. Uh-oh, you're not paying attention? Oh, Ayud, no! No! I think he does get the notification that he's under attack at least, but it's still very amusing. All right, his Ministry is up. He is up by 2 workers. He's obviously going to stretch ahead a little bit further as he continues to build extra workers. Makes a lot of sense. Ministry down to about half HP, a little bit under, and it looks like we are going for the distance on this game by comparison. The first attack doesn't immediately tell you anything because we have 7 stockades producing nonstop Mavericks and a couple of Cyprians here and there. The Trojan's still there. A second one actually being equipped. No Anseal still, despite all the minefield. That is a little bit puzzling. But I guess the idea is that he doesn't have too many units here anyway, so he's just going to go ahead and step forward and clear that. And there you have it. The Ministry is able to land now. And remember, with the extra Trojans, you know, and the Cyprians and stuff, we could totally see a mass drop move. There's already Watchdogs and Mines placed in preemptive positions. Aoud not really the type to get bopped by that again, and his Atlas is on the way. His tier 2 on 2 bases. Very surprising. We'll see if Shambler can make magic happen with the Maverick drop. It looks like it is just pure Maverick. 16 Mavericks going to be dispatched. Another Trojan is on the way, so maybe that'll be a Cyprian drop. I suppose if you end up dropping in that kind of situation, you just try to storm the gate here. That could be pretty significant, but there's still a lot of Vultures, still a lot of Cyclops, and it looks like that'll be a Vestry add-on for the mech so that, you know, it's a little bit more on the healing side of getting a little bit of extra sustain. Now, Aoud really shouldn't be trying to move out across the map and do anything since he is in a transitionary state, and drops can be the way that Shambler tries to get back into it. He already knows, he's already done the drop setup for defense, but he needs to keep his units at home to do that, to really make magic happen. So here we go. The Mavericks are going to be unloaded almost certainly very soon. Let's see, the Vultures are going to scramble to have some kind of response. And there's no mines dropped in here, so there we go. One of the Trojans is going to go ahead and get bopped. The other one should be lost for this world, but the Sim Mavericks are doing very, very well to equalize the worker count here in favor of the Shambler. He is up by 3 workers now. Looks like he's going to go after the Atlas. It was almost done in the construction zone. It was right about there. And so we are going to see it try to be reestablished at some point. But, you know, sorry, guys. I know there's a fight going on, but I really had to watch that Brood War pathing moment right there. That was beautiful. Even had a little spin at the end after blocking his Atlas maker for so very long. All right, so no structures went down, to my knowledge. Looks like everything is all good there. And, of course, the tech advantage is secured. We are going to see Shambler attempt a massive committal across the map. And we have no Sentinel coming down. It's just 2 Mantles and a Starport. And, you know, there were some casualties on the military side here for Aoud. He only has a couple of Cyclops left. He only has a couple of the Vultures. It's something like 4 Cyclops and the Vulture. Now, admittedly, no opportunity here for mine detection. No Minesweeper happening for Shambler. He has not invested into an Anseal. So that will make this hold a little bit easier for Aoud. You see he's going to go ahead and try to finish that off. I would love to get a couple more mines on that side of the ramp. Adding some Blackjacks at this stage is very curious, very interesting. And it looks like the Mantles will complete in time. Cataphracts would absolutely butcher this position. Like, it's not even close. So if they can get online fast enough, that would be one thing. But instead, it's going to be Durandal. I don't hate the Durandal. I think the Durandal is a great choice here as well. Very, very well armored. No armor rend exists on the other side. They do roast enemy units very well as well. So yeah, it looks like Shambler is kind of stuck into a 2-base counterattack. And admittedly, he does have the worker advantage over his opponent, but we're going to get that Seraph pretty soon. We are going to get a couple of Durandals here. And here's a drop attempt, but they get stunned immediately, so that's a quick response. And the double Watchdog is going to be there. Now, here we go. Attempting to step forward, but there are the mines. Very, very good. This is not going to end as well as I think Shambler wanted it to. He gets entirely wiped in that position. Clears a couple of Aoud's clerics, and that seems to be the extent of it. The commandment is done. Setting up for another stim attack. No mines this time around, but we are going to get another round of Durandals, which didn't really even get activated in that last fight. And, of course, the Seraph. Oh, no, it's an Azazel. I like that move as well. Looks like a Sentinel behind the Starport for anti-drop, but also has like a nice fallback spot to clear stuff out. We are going to get those Hurricanes in play. Again, you're up to almost 4 Durandals now as the attack hits. The 4th one is out, but it's not actually active right now. Hurricanes are going to get chewed through, and 2 Durandals are going to buy a lot of time for this fight. But it still might be enough for Shambler to break it. No artillery, no Cataphracts, no Phalanxes for an entrenched position. Definitely not going to be what you wanted. There goes the Azazel. It gets swatted out of the sky as soon as it spawns, and it looks like, yeah, to me, this Cyprian stack here of 17 Cyprians is very, very strong at this point. So the 1 Sentinel is all well and good. I don't think it's going to be quite enough to make things happen. The first Mantle is dead. There's only units back here being made are Blackjacks and Clerics. That's not what you want to be fighting against 17 of the Cyprians. And an Anseal did end up showing up as well to help break through the minefield with ease. So yeah, Shambler just really double-clicked onto the idea of smashing through with a bunch of military units. And it looks like Aoud will talk about hash browns, you know, wink, and he'll go ahead and concede. So yeah, that really is the cursed spot. Whoever spawns in the bonus resources area just loses. Now, Ayud is trying, he's experimenting with this idea of going for very fast Atlas. Shambler doesn't believe in it, doesn't buy it, doesn't think it's very good, but I think it's interesting to explore those kinds of strategies. I am interested in seeing where that goes. That's going to do it for our video today, because we are in store for many more replays, many more games within this set. We're talking about a match on Radium that I think is a standalone, and then 4 more matches all on Catalyst that'll probably be its own part. So this will be a 3-parter, and I think as a little change of pace, instead of sticking to the same series over and over again, our next video will be of a different series of games that is going on at the same time. So enjoy the bouncing back and forth between some TVT and some TVP. We will see you very soon for more Cosmonarchy. Remember, you can donate on the Ko-fi page if you're so inclined. It helps support development of the game. And thanks for joining, thanks for subscribing, and thanks for watching these videos.